one there, because one of the things that a parent would hate to do is I know sometimes I go for an event and then I bring out my phone to make contact with my family and there's no signal. And you actually hate and you think, why did they choose this venue? There's no signal. So that point around making sure that people are able to use their phones to contact their family or to charge their phones is so important because, nowadays we have a lot of these battery chargers.
Yes.
But, I think even up to last year or the year before, these things were so scarce. When your battery was flat, that was it. And you'd really, really be upset. No signal or no charge. It was no good. So I really like that point. So please go ahead.
Okay, so we had that going on, but going back to the conference and the women that actually had to have the conference. So we talked about the fact that it was about empowering them. So we had to make sure that at the end of the conference, after the 3 days, they had like a feedback form that was drawn up by the team in order for them to know what they had achieved out of the conference. Did they meet the expectation? How was the venue? Was it everything they anticipated, and what did they get out of it? But apart from that, what they did was that about a few months after, making sure that they had an evaluation form. But the only way we had that sorted was that when they started, we make sure that people registered, so we're able to gain access, have their email address and seek their consent, that we'll be sending them details just to update them on what's going on as well. A few months after, sent out the questionnaire again for them to be able to fill it in so that they'll be able to evaluate it and compare what they filled in last time to what they've filled in this year. We're able to see that there has been quite a big difference, which means the company was able to achieve their goal about empowering these women. And now it's become a thing that they do every year during the summer. So it's an event I have to run for them. Every year I have to plan it for them.
I like that. So what you're really saying, or what I'm hearing is that to actually understand the clear goal, it's not that straightforward because you've spoken about the ability to access phones, you've spoken about a crash, and you've also said the ability to measure, because people on a day could be really happy and say, how was it? Great. How was that? Great. But when you ask them after 2 months, they remember, was it really great, or were you just saying that because you were trying to be polite?
Yeah.
That is really good. And I think that way people can actually get a real taste of how people felt about it. And then they can know, well, after 2 months, people weren't very happy with this, so let's scrap it. Or after 2 months, it was really good, let's do it again. Because one of the worst things you can do is put on an event and nobody buys the tickets.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's because you didn't really find out if they were happy with it. So I really like that point. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. You actually touched slightly on my next question I had for you, because my next question was going to be about your audience. When we talk about events, are we just filling up with anyone, or are there target groups, and how do you define? Because I know for a fact that I'll tell you a scenario. I know someone that he was letting out a property, and all 5 tenants in the properties were all sort of involved in plumbing, electrics, and building. And one day, one of them moved out. And when he moved out, a professional banker moved in. When the banker moved in, his habits were so different from the rest that the other 4 moved out. And then the landlord was in a lot of trouble. So sometimes people just think, just fill it up with people, just get people in there. They don't realize that if you get people that are not compatible in the room, they'll just make the excuses and say, I'm not going to sit in the same room with that kind of person, and that's it. So I want you to tell us a bit more about how do you, get these audiences together, people that like sitting next to each other, because it happens, I don't want to sit next to him, I don't want to eat on that table. How do you, the experts, how do you do it?
The way to go about it is basically when you've decided that who your audience are, so you need to know who the audience are. And remember in this conference I talked about, it was looking at people between the ages of 21 and 60 and women to empower them. So they all have a likeness together. They must be looking towards a particular goal. So when you have that advert running, you've put it there that this is what your aim is. So they know this is what the aim is. If I'm not interested in a women empowering program, I wouldn't attend. If I'm interested in a women empowering program, women empowering women, I would attend, even as much as I'm a woman. So this is me knowing those target audience. So when they've been put together, so when we have a group, so for example, you've got a group of 50 people all together, after you've done the conference is, or during the conference, while whoever the talker is, you might have a great speaker. After the great speaker has finished speaking, you need to make sure that they're actually into different groups, like a discussion group. But when it comes to that discussion group, you're going to have different peoples with different abilities and different mentalities there, and it's all about bringing them all together. So they might have small groups, because if you have a large group, some people might feel very uncomfortable in talking. But if you've got it in different or small groups, then people would feel comfortable to talk. Because some people just cannot talk with a group of 50 people. But the minute you make it about 10 people, then they're able to express their feelings. So in that way, then you're able to achieve what you want to achieve as well.
You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, sometimes at the start of in arranging or organizing a conference, it's actually very good to have a committee that sits down as a planning committee that actually talks about or plan the strategies, the goals, the objectives. Now, once you have this, that actually dictates the group you're going to invite. Like, for example, I'm just going to go out of this, but I'm going to sort of organize a meeting for people that buy yacht, or I want to have an exhibition for yacht or sell yacht. Now I'm going to look at, that's going to be an high-end sort of market. So my target audience will be people that are very comfortable, that have got enough money to spend on that. If I'm going to be selling brand new cars, I'm going to look at people generally and different cars. If I'm going to be selling the classic car, I'm going to be looking at people of elderly age that will have cars for a long time, not someone that's 16 that might not be able to afford a car probably like 1967. So that determines the people you're actually going to send the invitation to. Because if you have the list, you have the clear goal, you know what you want to achieve, then it's going to be easy to send out the invitations and get the best out of the conference.
Okay. Now, question. How long do you think is advisable to plan towards an event? When I say an event, let's say I wanted 300 people in for, a seminar, and how long do you think I should put towards planning this, and why is planning it over that period necessary?
It's good to have a whole year planning it. If it's
a whole year?
A whole year of planning. And the only reason why you have a whole year of planning is you have to think about the pitfalls that could happen in between.
Okay.
Because you might decide you've got the budget, you can finance it, but then you're not sure about how you want to go about the strategy. You might have a goal in place, but then thinking about the time, if you're thinking you want to plan it in summer, depending on the venues go quickly, because not just conferences, you've got weddings going on, you've got people doing adverts, you've got people putting on a show during those times, so you need to make sure you've got the right timing. So you've got a year to plan. You're able to make sure you set up a committee as well. Have the committee you have in are people with different skills, or you can just get a professional event planner to plan your wedding, to plan the conference or the wedding for you. If it's a case you've got somebody that's professional to plan it for you, then they're able to think about those eventualities that would literally happen. Because if you don't have that whole year of planning, let's say for example, you decide, I want to get married the next month. For me to get married next month, I have to think about the venue. So next month is June. Taking June for example, it's spring. So getting a venue might be very tight. And if I do get the venue, how many people am I planning to invite? Are these people going to be available? What's the niche market I'm going into? So it's quite important, I think, about that as well when it comes to that planning. And apart from that, what do I want to achieve out of my conference, or want to achieve out of that event I've literally put on at that point in time? We think about the venue, we think about the aids, whatever we need, we think about the people, we think about the logistics and the practicality of people coming in. So a practical example as well could be, I've got the right venue, but could people get in quickly? Is there parking spaces there or not? So that's been sorted, I've got that sorted. But what about the fact that the number of people I want, I'm looking for I need a venue that's going to be for 300 people, which is what you're saying, but the venue I see is only for 200. And I've got a pitfall going on there, so I need to be careful about that. I'll tell you a story about someone called me and told me they wanted me to put on an event. They called me 6 months before the event, told me about the event, And I was give them the told them about what they needed to do. We needed to find the venue. They said they had not found the venue yet, but they just wanted me to give them a quote. I give them a quote and everything. I said, when they've got do they need me to find the venue? But they said, oh, they were looking into finding the venue themselves. By the time they came back to me 2 months before the event and said they've just found a venue, and these are the things that needed to be put in place within 2 months. But what they really needed at that point in time was quite big, different to what they wanted initially. So they sort of had an idea of what they wanted, but by the time it was 2 months, they've added about 50% more to what they literally told me they wanted at the beginning, which means it's now a magnitude thing that's literally going on. So we have to think about that planning. Just before the event was supposed to take place, everything was in place. They got the venue, they got the right venue. But then what literally happened then was that the people they needed, so they'd actually send out the invite for the number of people that they wanted to invite to the wedding, got the number of people, but then they'd not planned. They've decided they're going to send out 400 invites. The venue was going to take 400 people. So not thinking about the fact that if you send out 400 invites, that means you're practically having about 600 people. Because for every invite, we Africans from African descent, you invite me, I'm going to tell my aunt about it. My best friend that lives down the road, she's getting married, and so definitely I'm going to bring my friend, and my friend might tell another friend as well. So you got more people. So that planning hasn't been taken into place at all. So that's where it goes back to knowing the number of people you're going to invite. So you got the 400 people, making sure you only tell about 200 people or even 250 people. Okay, by the time you've got 250 people on track, then you know that before you know it, you might have more than that 250 people going on. But then it's always nice if we're able to get them to respond back to you. If they're able to respond back to you telling you they're going to attend or not, then you're able to plan towards it. So those are the things we need to put into place when it comes to those planning and having a proper wedding or proper event or proper conference. And those are the things you think about a year before those days.
Let me ask you a question. Right? Now, what you've said sounds like a lot of sense. But I know that some people, when you ask them to get back to you, RSVP, and say, look, we have this wedding going on, we have this event going on, would like you to attend, and then you ask an elderly person, and they say, don't worry, when the day comes, you see me there. And if you don't see me, you don't see me. Those type of answers are very common in African culture. But like you rightly said, if you don't have the right numbers, this could cause the whole event to go into mock. Because I remember a party I went to, and when these different women came in with their different gillies, they came in and they all came in their groups, and there were not enough chairs. So the moment one set got up to get food, they started snatching chairs, and the other set came back and said, who took my chair? Nobody answered, and they started to abuse some young children. And I looked at it and I thought, absolute mayhem. And I just couldn't help but think that you're living in England, you're probably working in England, you sleep and wake up in England, and the English people that you're neighbors with do not behave like this. And you have come from where you've come from, and you've exported yourselves, your good side and your bad sides. And the bad sides are showing up in these events. Now, as event planners, how can you help people avoid getting into embarrassing situations? Because if I did an event and I invited 10 people from my workplace, I'm hardworking, I'm ethical, I'm going up the ladder, people with me, some of them are my bosses, and then you have this show of shame aunties or show of shame uncles just coming along, and they're not thinking of anything and they're just behaving badly. Nobody wishes for those people to come and behave that way, but I'm sure as event planners, you've seen this happen.
Yeah.
Now, the real issue here is that this is a problem. If there's one solution I think is worth my wallet today, is you telling me how we can get over this. But I don't want you to answer now because we're going on a break. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think. But when we come back from that break, I want you to tell me how we can avoid the show of shame aunties or uncles or neighbors. We'll be back shortly after this. You're watching the GBP Business Hour on Fusion Plus Television.
Women, Africa, celebrate. African women, African queen.
The nominations are in. The time is now. The prestigious Women for Africa Awards has arrived. Taking place on Saturday, the 9th of May 2015 at the Great Hall, Kensington, London. For more information, visit www.womenforafrica.com.
Women, Africa, celebrate. African women, African queen.
The nominations are in. The time is now. Taking place on Saturday, the 9th of May 2015 at the Great Hall, Kensington.com.
Welcome back to the GBP Business Hour here on Fusion Plus TV. I'm your host, Samani Banjo, and my guests are in the house, and we're about to answer a very controversial question that I've thrown their way. So, Mr. and Mrs. Solu, tell us, how do you think, for a young couple that haven't even thought of this, but we're thinking for them, that's why we're here, how do we avoid having a show of shame, auntie click, uncle click, or neighbor click, that fight over chairs and things like that in a venue? No young couple want that to happen. As wedding planners and experienced hands, can you help our audience and just give us one tip? One tip that will make them know that classic events is the place to be. Please tell us.
Okay. Now, the answer to that is, like you said, if you're planning strategically and you have 12 months, one of the things you can do is, and I tend to encourage people, is that sometimes it's better we take parties or events out of London.
Okay.
If you're planning for 300-400 high-end or high-class family members, now most of the halls we have in London are actually very, very small. And if you want a very, very good hall, you have to go towards the city. Now, in going to the city, you have to think of congestion, parking facilities which are not really available. But if you are going outside London, you will have larger halls ready. Now, with that, if people have actually confirmed coming in, you will be able to set the table and number the table. I know it's not what we really like based on the African culture, but based on what we have and to create a solution to this crisis, if we number the tables because we've confirmed we know the number of people coming, and like you said, if we're going to have like 400 guests, it's better to have like 50 spare seats so that when we have this, it's not going to be a problem. So when people have confirmed, sometimes you can let them come in using their invitation card as a means of getting entry into the venue. So that what that means is that you might have to have people or bouncers at the venue to confirm that they've actually booked in advance. But because they are family, if it's going to be a family party, you will need someone that knows people to confirm, like you said. If a grandma said, you will see me on that day, you will not be able to turn her back. So if someone can say, yeah, that's my grandma, that will give her entrance. Because we've created 50 extra seats, it will be good. So one of the main things is that looking at big halls, planning on time, going outside of London where you have spaces for large venues, car parks, all the facilities you need to have a creche, to have everything, then it will look good, it will look clean, and it will look very, very professional.
That's a very good answer. So what you're saying to me is, or what I'm understanding is, to actually curb this show of shame people, we need to have a larger venue. So if we know we're expecting 500 capacity for 600, we're expecting 200 capacity for 300.
Yes.
So in case they just turn up, so before they can start throwing or fighting over chairs, we have more chairs to give them.
Definitely.
Before they can push each other and say, you're in my
Shove
way,
each other.
there's more space.
Yes.
Because, but this question I just asked, am I making it up, or is this something that you actually see happen?
I have seen that happen. I've witnessed that happen. I've been to a party before, not the one I've even organized. When we've got an invitation to go to a party, and we've literally sat down, and the next minute we just saw a group of people come in, the same side of people with the headgear. I was going to say a boat shape and all those different shapes that come up. And then all of a sudden, people had literally gone up to have their food, and they had sat down. And the next minute, somebody came in and said, "Oh, those are our seats." I said, well, there wasn't anybody there. And actually, those people literally were told to get off those seats, and they were quite embarrassed. And I heard one of them say, "Why did you invite us to a party when there wasn't enough chairs?" And they were upset and emotional, and they had to leave the party. But what I normally advise my clients is that, you know the type of family or background you're coming from. So going back to what my husband has rightly said about the fact that you might have to find a bigger venue, and that's because I know my family, I come from a large family. There is no way I can cut down the size. But then you have to be diplomatic about things as well, because you need to think about how much is my budget as well. Can I afford to feed everybody at the same time, and would I be able to afford to pay for this venue we're having, and I want a nice wedding at the same time. So what one could do is, you're expecting to have 300 people or 200 people. Send out invite to 150 people and tell them you need them to RSVP by a certain day. If they don't RSVP by that certain day, then that means they're not planning to come to the wedding. But when you do that, make sure you get someone else to do it for you. Because if you do it yourself, then you're stuck. But when you give someone else to send out the invite, and you put someone else's name that's a neutral person as the RSVP, then they would have to respond. And if that person has to email them as well, they would have to respond back. And if they don't respond, they know that means they would not be allowed to attend the wedding. Or you make sure that they know about it, so you tell them about it.
And it also means that they can't blame you.
Yes, they can't blame you.
And say you're disrespectful and you're rude because you didn't send it. You can say, well, sorry, but it wasn't me.
Yeah, definitely.
That is a very important point.
Yeah, definitely. So the first 150 people we've sent it, probably out of that, only 100 people are able to make it. That means you've still got to tie back. So you send out the next 50. How many people are able to make it? But then you've got a time scale on it, which is quite important, because there are times we do put on an event or a wedding, we as much as want to invite the whole family, but then either we can't afford it, or we just don't have the capacity as well, or the venue to be able to take everybody. But then because we've been able to narrate on the RSVP, it works. We know as a lot of people don't like it, where you have to send them an invite and you tell them that you need them to RSVP by a certain time, or you tell them that they have to bring in an invitation. They don't really like it. And I'll tell you a story, and this literally happened in-house. Okay. When my sister got married in Nigeria, it was strictly by invitation, and that's back home in Nigeria. And we had about 500 guests. So you could just imagine, if I'm saying 500 guests strictly by invite. So if it wasn't strictly by invite, how many people would we have at that wedding? So it was a strictly by invite wedding, and my aunties were really happy about it. And I remember one of my aunties telling us that if your mom was alive, I'm sure this wouldn't happen. It's because your mom is alive. And we laughed about it because it was quite funny. And I said, well, it has nothing to do with if our mom was alive or not, but we just thought we needed to scale down the number of people. And the most important thing I always say is that when you're putting on an event, it has to really matter. When you're putting up a wedding or having a wedding, you need the people that really matter around you. You just don't want anybody to attend the wedding, and then you're looking at the pictures and you're saying, who's that? I've had one of my professional photographers I've used told me a story about the fact that where he was looking through the albums with his clients, and then his client was asking him, who's that person? And the word, is your guest at your wedding? And you don't want that to happen when you've got that going on. So those are the things we could literally do to scale down. Having an RSVP gets a neutral person to deal with it, and then it works. Because I've had to do that with some of my clients as well. So, and it has really worked.
Fantastic. Okay, that is really interesting. Do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, one of the things, the most important thing in planning an event is to get someone that can actually identify the pitfalls so that before it becomes a crisis, it's been resolved.
Is that you?
That's me.
All right. That's a good one.
Definitely us.
That's definitely. So you can identify the pitfalls.
Yes.
And I think it's actually a very important thing because when you have a memorable day, a memorable event, it's one thing to watch your pennies, which everyone has to, but other thing, you can't be penny wise and pound foolish,
Yes.
and then find out that because you didn't bring in the right type of people to help you, the whole event was a mess. So I like that, and I think some of the things that you've said today are really important. And I think younger people in particular that haven't witnessed that many weddings or events really need to rely on professionals like yourself or people that are not in the industry, because it's clear if it wasn't a booming industry, they wouldn't have professionals like you in this. So I think, yes, I like what you've said so far. It's really interesting. I've got more questions for you. I've got more questions. Okay, you've spoken about having a committee, committee of friends. I remember when I got married, we had a committee, and there was a lady that said she was going to bring, I think, 2 coolers of rice or something. And she never. Do you know how I still can't? She never turned up. She never turned up, and it's one of those things. You'd be like, we got over it, but just remember that. Why would you do that? That was such a special day. And looking back at it, if I could have outsourced the whole thing to professionals, I would have. Because that is one special day in your life. So, tell me, everyone has friends and well-wishers that would want to be part of the committee. But where comes the balance? Because there needs to be the voice of professionals.
Yeah.
There has to be. I've been a best man before, and I know there has to be professionals, or else,
Definitely.
because I was a best man to a friend of mine, and the wedding was somewhere outside London, funny enough, and we were all in a hotel. I think it was a Premier Inn or something. All the men were getting ready, and then because I didn't even know the area, just drive there, sat nav, and they said, "Where is the church?" Not far. And all of a sudden we were like, we're going to be late, everyone run. And it's like, 1 minute we're sitting there, next minute we're in this car and we're driving through traffic and going all sorts of things. You get there, the wedding's started, and then the groom got there late. We're rushing the ring and everything, and it was something I was like, what is this? But I was the best man, so I couldn't say anything. Yeah. But looking back at it, what would you say? Because some people might say, we don't need you. We know what to do. We have common sense. I've got a degree. My dog got married, so did my brother, so they would tell me what to do. Why do you think that, apart from listening to my brother and my auntie that knows everything, why are the services of event planners actually booming? Because this is a huge industry. There must be something going on that you guys know. So can you not sell to us, but actually help enlighten us? Because you've given us some really good points, but have some compassion. Someone out there is listening and they don't understand up to now why. Can you give some advice as to why they can use you or even anyone, but they need to use professionals to make sure that those memorable days are memorable for the right reasons? And number 2, I'm going to ask you, if the fees involved in event planning was really high, for example, because I don't know, would people like you, if you use your 1-year strategy, you said 1 year of planning, is it something that you would take instrumental payment? So if you said, oh, well, to do this, it's £2,000 and we haven't got it, and you said can we pay £200 a month and things like that? What sort of things will you do to help people? Can you answer those things? So there's 2 questions there.
The first one goes back from what you've literally said. What could happen is that you have people that want to plan their wedding, they've got friends and family that want to help out as well. And that's one thing I found, that a lot of people want to help. It's a good intention, because they know it's a wedding day, so they want to help you with either the food, or with either with the decoration, or either with even getting the people ready. But what we suggest to people is that always have a coordinator.
Okay.
So if you can pay for a service of a coordinator for the day, get a coordinator. You've done all the planning. So what happens is that 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the event, the coordinator has a list of everybody that has promised you what they want to do. Either the person that's going to drive you, the person that's going to do the cooking, the person that's going to do the setup, the person that's going to be the chauffeur, the person that's going to do your hair. They've got a list. So 4 weeks when they get the list, they have to just call them and introduce themselves to let them know this is who I am, and I'll be the coordinator for the day on Jimmy and Jack's wedding on that day. So when they've got that sorted, what happens is that 2 weeks before, they give them a call to find out where they are. Do they need help anywhere? Or is there anything that they need them to sort out for them? Or if they've got any problems, they should just contact them. So if that's been sorted, then that's fine. And then on the day, that's where the final call is. But before the day, they've got a time schedule. So everybody has a time. They know what time the caterer has to come in, what time the venue has to be set, what time they have to get to the church. And this is what the coordinator is going to be. The coordinator will be in charge from when you start in the morning till the end of the event. So the coordinator has to follow you about, well, not follow you about, but sort of monitor what's literally going on in regards to the timekeeping and make sure they're on top of things. And if that happens, definitely you'll be able to have a successful wedding. So then before, even 2 weeks before, you know the person that's supposed to be bringing the rice or the person that's supposed to set the table cannot set the table anymore for one reason or the other. It wouldn't be a last minute thing. Even if it's going to be a last minute thing, you'll be able to sort it out or find alternatives as well. So that's where that coordination comes in. So it's quite important that you have somebody coordinating the day. If you can pay someone, it's fine. But it's not expensive either as well. So some people, and you've got a way where you've got some people among your friends that are quite good at coordinating as well. So they can help willingly want to coordinate the day. Thinking about the costing, which you said, if it's when it comes to planning, do we have sort of like a scheme? Yes, we do have, where people could pay instrumentally because they've got a year of planning. They could pay us instrumentally, or if it's a case where we could always do a package. So it depends. We sort of tailor our packages to suit our clients. But most importantly, we're able to work around our client's budget as well. So depending on what you have and the services we're going to provide for you, we would always be able to meet up with whatever you're willing to pay. But most importantly, when it comes to the coordination, if it's where we've had to plan your day for you, we'll definitely just be coordinating the whole day. So you don't even need to pay for that services of that coordination at all, so which is quite good.
Wow. Okay. So it seems as if you're almost like the people to go to. All right, so let's change the topic a bit. You've really explained a lot about the kind of things that can happen and what you can do. Tell us some of the downsides. So tell us one or two disappointing things that have happened while you've been event planners. Now, I want to flip the coin. I want you to talk to me as a business person. You know, we know that in business, not everything is not always sunny. But tell us some of the downfalls. What's gone wrong in this business for you?
Do you want to answer that question, or do you want me to?
Well, a lot of things go wrong depending on how you've planned it. Sometimes we've had, like, when people come and say, like I said, in planning, they're short of funds. And they've promised that, okay, after the wedding or after the engagement or after the party, we will be paying you exactly a week. And guess what? After a week, you don't get anything. Then you start chasing them in about 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, then 4 weeks. And that's why there are always different packages and different agreement forms. So marriages honestly does not have to be about a huge sum of money, but the plan will bring out the best.
That's really wise. I like that statement. That's a very wise one. Anything else that's been a bit challenging in the industry?
Sometimes vendors. And that's why it's good to have a professional, because after working with different vendors, you can now actually identify the best vendors that you can use for any occasion or any event. Now, that's the difference between someone that does it regularly and someone that's going to do it as a one-off. you might have a recommendation.
So hold on. Okay, no, go ahead.
You might have a recommendation based on someone that got married some times ago and the person was good. Probably circumstances of life has changed. And during this particular wonderful day that you think you're going to have, the person might not be able to turn up and it might end up as a disaster.
So, what you're saying is that even though this person has good intention, they may not be able to deliver, but because you work with these people consistently, you've been able to observe their character, their consistency, and then in your capacity, you can actually say, look, you know what, I know your auntie said go to Joe Blogs, but in my experience, I've seen Joe Blogs 20 times, and I've also seen Harry Blogs 20 times, and Harry is more consistent.
Exactly, yes.
That is gold, because there's no way, because if you only do your wedding once, which I hope you do, out there, or if you only do one event a year, there's no way you'll be able to measure the behavior or the consistency or the habits of a vendor.
Exactly.
Except people like you that are able to, work with them on a Friday, on a Saturday, on a Tuesday, and have that consistency.
Exactly.
So you, in a sense, you're also a very strong point of reference.
Yes.
Because you've been able to see them and you've had industry insights and things like that.
Yes.
Have you got a blog?
No, we're working on it.
I like that, but I think you should have one, because some of the information you're giving here, people would want to know.
We will, I think by the end of this week, have it up. And I promise you, we'll have it up by the
end of this week.
By the end of this week.
You're saying this on TV?
By the end of this week.
Or
by the end of this week, we will have it up.
Or
and
what
it will
will
be
happen?
running. No, it will be running.
You're that sure?
I am very, very sure.
Okay.
Because we actually we deliver exactly what we promise.
Well, I like that. That's a confident man.
That is a very confident.
So, by Sunday,
yes,
I'll be asking you for your blog site.
Definitely.
And I'm looking for the content.
Definitely, you will get it.
And if I do get it, I will make sure I make a mention of it on social media.
Thank you very much.
If I don't, I'll do the same.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's really good. Kane, what do you have to say about, what are some of the things that you found hard? I mean, the way men and women deal with things is different. Sometimes women get emotional. She lied to me. Tell us, what do you think?
What I've really found hard when it comes to this is, especially when it comes to wedding idol, you've got the mother of the bride that wants to be the bride herself. And that is the biggest challenge you would have, because the bride knows what she wants, but then the mother of the bride knows what she wants, and there might be two different things. So what I've had to learn with this, and it goes back to wisdom. So what it is that I've understood, this is what the bride wants, this is what the mother of the bride wants. So we have to come to an agreement. So this goes back to being diplomatic with both of them. So I've had a bride, I'll just tell you a story about one of the weddings I planned some years ago, where the mother of the bride had her set colors. This is the colors she wanted, the bride had the colors. And the two colors, if you mix them together, we're going to contrast each other. So what we had to do was to find, okay, pick two colors, let's match and mix and match together. And I made them see how it looked like. It didn't work, so they now had to come to an agreement. So one thing has to give way. I told the mother of the bride, let the bride have her colors, but then you can choose a lighter version of it. So that was one thing that went away.
I think we have a phone call coming through. We have a phone call coming through. Hello, caller. Hello. Oh, I think we've lost that call. They'll probably try back. But so if you're out there, please call again, and we'll try and get your call. Go ahead.
So yes, we talked about the colors, and then we were able to agree on a color on those colors. But then that's quite easy. But then it now came to the setting, how they wanted the venue to be. So we had to think, okay, how did the mother want the venue to be? The bride wanted fresh flowers. The mother thought it would be nice to have not just fresh flowers.
Hello,
but she
good
was
evening.
thinking it would be nice to have drapings around the whole room, and the bride thought.
Hello, good evening.
Hello there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you turn your computer down? Hello? Hello? Hello, caller. I think we've lost this caller again.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Amos.
Amos. Hello,
Hello,
Amos.
Amos.
Yeah, it's down. Hello, I can hear you.
Yeah, have you got a question for us, Amos?
Hello, hello. Hello.
Look, if you can hear us, put down the phone.
Hello?
But before you put it down, lower the volume on your set and then call us back again, because I think your set is interfering, so we can't hear you properly. So please put it down and call again, and we'll be expecting your call. Thank you. Go ahead.
Who was I again?
We were talking about contrasting colors.
Oh yes, we were talking about
my
the mother of the bride that wants to be the bride and contrasting color. So yes, the other thing was about the venue. The mother of the bride thought she wanted all the venue to be draped. That's what she wanted. But the bride had something else in mind, to find a venue that doesn't need draping but had beautiful artwork done on it. So this is one thing we had to talk about. So I had to just sit both of them together and made the mother understand that you've been married once. I know this is what you want. She's the only girl you have. You want the best for her. But this is what she really would like. But then we had to come to an agreement that you've got the engagement.
Hello?
What I would say is you take over the engagement ceremony. Let the bride take over the wedding. So which was quite easy then in that case.
I think we have another call coming through. Hello? Hello? Anyone there? Hello? I think we're getting a bad line tonight.
Wow.
We can't seem to hear this caller. Out there trying to call in. Sorry about this, we can't hear you. Try and call again. We'd love to take your question. But unfortunately, your call isn't coming through to us clearly. So I want you to just try that again for us, please.
So yes, the only way around was being diplomatic. So I had to tell the mother of the bride, you take over the engagement. It's more of a family thing. Let the bride, let her be involved in the wedding aspect. And I think that was what solved it. So the mother of the bride was able to do what she wanted with the engagement, the colors and everything. And the bride was able to do what she wanted, have the type of wedding she wanted during the wedding day. And they were quite happy because they didn't believe they could literally do that. I thought, well, it's a family thing. The bride, it's her day. No one else can take that day from her. And then that was how that got sorted in that case. It was quite challenging.
Okay, I think we've got another call coming through. Let's try and get this call. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hi, I'm in business hour because I wanted to ask a question.
Okay. What is your question?
I just wanted to know where the lady got her inspiration from.
Her inspiration?
Yeah.
Lady. Yes.
Hello.
Sorry, what was your name?
My name's Kemi.
Oh, hello, Kemi. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. Well, my inspiration, I love organizing. That's just me. I love organizing and I love weddings. And practically almost everybody around me have literally planned their wedding and organized or coordinated their wedding one way or the other. It's just a passion I have. I like to see things go very well, and I like things done neatly and someone to be happy during the events. And if I go to a wedding, I can't sit still. If I'm not the one planning the wedding, if I see anything wrong, I'll be so itching to literally find a solution to it. So I have to stop myself. But then I try to find who is in charge. But my inspiration really comes for the passion I have for weddings and making sure that people are happy.
Okay, well, I think you're doing a fantastic job. Well done, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you can just drop your website so we can follow it up with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you very much.
www.classicevents-weddings.com.
Say that again. Say
Okay.
that slower.
Thank you very much.
www.classicevents-weddings.com.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Bye.
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 That's a good one. Your inspiration. So you go to weddings, and when you see things go wrong, you just jump up and try and fix them.
I try to, but I've had to caution myself. If possible, I have to find who is in charge, and that's what I would normally do, just to find out is there someone in charge. And most time I find that it's almost everybody that's in charge. So which means if almost everybody is in charge, you've got about 10 people in charge, that means
There's no one in charge.
there is no one in charge. And that's why you see a lot of pitfalls going on.
If you have 10 people in charge, that means there's no one in charge.
Yeah.
That is a tweet. If you see 10 people in charge, that means there's no one in charge. I think there's another call coming through, actually.
Okay.
Let's try and take this one. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question about events.
Yep.
I just wanted to find out how the lady actually started her own company, and does she do any other events apart from weddings?
Yes, I do. I do other events apart from weddings. I do children's parties. I do adult parties. I do conference bookings as well, and workshops. So I could organize anything for you. So it's not just the weddings, but I know I have a passion for weddings, but we've got other things going on as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. And apart from weddings, in terms of maybe like other big organizations, say music concerts or any other ones you do, what do you find most challenging when trying to get things together?
What I find most challenging is probably the vendors sometimes. If it's where I go to have to use a particular venue and they're recommending their own vendors, it might be a challenge because I've never used their vendors before, compared to if I have to bring in my vendors. So I have to find a way of speaking to them and making sure we're able to use my vendors instead of having to use their vendors. Or if not, then I'll have to speak with those vendors and be able to come to an agreement about what I want and tell them this is what I literally need on the day.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. What's your name, caller?
It's Shola.
Oh, thank you, Shola.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the calls are coming in. People are quite interested in what inspires you and what the differences are. So, what else do you have to say about that? Do you have any other points you want to add?
About what's inspired me, or what really is I like seeing people happy. That's just me.
You like seeing people happy?
I like seeing people happy. You've got people where after an event or after their wedding, they look back and think if they've had this, if they've done that, if they've got someone professional come in, the caterer came in late, if they had somebody to organize it, then they wouldn't have that going on. And what I always tell my brides or for anybody I'm organizing a function for is, you've got someone coordinating the day, enjoy the best of the day. You don't want to be involved in whatever happens. Think about it. And what I literally tell people to scare people is that if you're not smiling during the pictures, if you're frowning because you can see that the table is not being organized, when the picture gets taken, you would be frowning. And when the pictures come out, you would not be happy. And remember, you cannot reverse or replay the day. So that's one thing I normally tell them in regards to that.
Okay, I think we have another call coming through. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, tell us your name. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Amos.
Hello.
Hi, Amos.
Yes, how are you? Good evening.
Evening.
Yeah, I'm really very excited about your guest today. Very enlightening.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
Sam, I think it's very well. It's bringing the best and like you said, helping one another, growing businesses. That's so fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to ask this on the show who's the couple with you today. Especially, I'm more concerned about having to have an event and timing. We have this issue with African time, and how do they really manage an event and make sure that the event is set before event time? Because I know sometimes some people, the reason why their events is not starting on time is because organizers are not, on top of the situation, and so that probably will eat deep into their timing. So how are they able to manage an event and make sure that event starts on time? And also, do they go outside the UK, like and other places, America, if people have events? Because I'm sure a lot of people who are watching them all over the world now will be happy to see if they can invite them over for international events. Again, thank you so much, and I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Now, regarding the first question, how we get people to arrive on time. Now, because the vendors we use are not
Can I just say something? We only actually have 2 minutes left in the show.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because the vendors we use are not our family members. They are professionals. So they have to, if not, their recommendations will be affected. So they've got to come on time. So because, like I said, we've tried them, we've used them, we've tested them. So we know that they're shortened. So that is the way we get their vendors to come in on time.
Fantastic. And the other question he asked?
Now we go everywhere. I think she was in America.
Yes,
2
we
years
do.
ago.
We go everywhere. I've had a wedding in Dallas before.
Wow.
Yes, I went to Dallas to do a wedding in Dallas before, and I've been to Nigeria as well
Several
to
times.
coordinate a wedding. Yeah, so I did the planning. So I got vendors in Nigeria to do everything. I just coordinated the day.
So you've done Europe, the USA,
Yes.
and Africa.
Africa.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And in London, we could go around the whole M25.
Anywhere we go.
I always say it's just around the corner.
Okay. We've run out of time, but before we go, tell us your website and contact details again, so anyone out there can actually hear and contact you.
Okay. We're Classic Events and Weddings, and the website is www.classicevents-weddings.com. And our contact number is 07958 970 468. You can give us a call anytime, and we'll be willing to literally answer your questions or deal with you or provide you with any services you would like.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming onto the show tonight. And for our viewers out there, thank you for being patient and watching us.
You.
This is your host, Samani Banjo, the Great Business Hour on Fusion Plus Television, and we're signing out. Then God bless and see you next time. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.